completely okay, or if you have any questions, just raise your hand. And it's basically just a couple of things that I put together after experimenting and reading a couple of books on human behavior and how people get influenced, how people get more motivated, and what makes a person be more open when you're talking to them about something they don't know and you want them to basically change their habits. So I want to start with something more fun. This workshop obviously is not as serious as the other one. A few days ago, I found out that there's been a study, and the study says that on a yearly basis, the average person accidentally swallows or eats 7 spiders per year in your sleep. Did anyone know that?
How many spiders?
7.
Oh my god.
It's crazy, right? Now, I want to play a game. I want you all to stand up. Okay? Now I want everyone to promise that you're going to be completely honest, okay? If you didn't believe this, sit down. If you didn't believe. Alright. So actually the study that was done, you can all sit down now. The study that was done is not a real study, but the real study was to check how many people believe something when you say a study said. Alright? And the reason I'm using this is because the first thing we have to know in outreach is that the person you're talking to believes something as ridiculous as what you just believed. Okay? Which is eating animals is important, or ethical, or etc. So I'm gonna talk per point what helps me in outreach when I'm doing, like, either if it's like in my personal life or if we're doing a Cube of Truth or any other activism. So always start without criticizing, alright? Just the same way that you believe what I just told you, other people believe other things. Most of us used to do these things as well. So never criticize, never condemn, never complain. The other person is not your enemy, and if they're listening to you, it actually means that they have the motivation to be open to listen to your message. So always be careful about how you come across. Show always honest appreciation. How many of you here, when doing Cube of Truth events, while you're talking to someone, or actually in your daily life as well, someone said, oh, well, I'm trying to eat less meat. Have you heard that before?
Yes.
Yeah.
What our first reaction is, well, the cow is not going to say I'm less than, right? You're still killing cows if you're eating less meat. However, you cannot have that reaction. You have to always show appreciation, even if it's not enough, for the person to feel that they have an importance. Even if they're not doing enough, remind them that what they're doing is kind of appreciated, however, and then you can continue, okay? And to do that is very important because at the end of the day, we cannot act like dictators because we simply don't have that power. If we could, we would make all of the world be vegan against their will. However, we don't have that power, so we have to make the other person want to change, because no matter what we say, even if they get convinced that it's right, that it's unhealthy for them to continue, that it's bad for the environment and everything, as long as they don't want to change really, they're not going to change at all. I just had I don't know, I've known him for 12 years. A friend from back home messaged me yesterday. I was sending the screenshots yesterday to Sophie. He messaged me saying, and he's known me all this time, he's watched documentaries and stuff, said he was on Netflix, he was bored, he was having a bad day, he was scrolling down, saw a documentary about veganism, he watched it and he sent me a message saying, I'm really sorry I didn't do it, but now I'm so proud and I'm so committed and I'm gonna go vegan. I just wanted to let you know. Now, I've done everything with this person to go vegan. This is one of my closest friends. It's one of the reasons I couldn't be so close to him anymore because it really annoyed me. And it wasn't until he actually wanted to change that he changed. And that is the biggest proof that that's how it works. So, if someone you're talking to on the street starts talking about the struggle they have, whether it's, oh, I don't have a lot of time, I have family, I work 2 jobs and I study, I don't know what, or I have this intolerance or that intolerance, I don't think I can go vegan. Please always take this into consideration. You cannot define another person's reality. If somebody says, I have this difficulty, even if that difficulty does not justify, and almost no difficulty justifies eating animals, even if it doesn't justify, make them see that that is okay. The fact that they have that difficulty, it's not up to us. It's in their life, and if they see it that way, we cannot change that. And we are no one to define what their reality is. And that is very important because it kind of shows the other person that you are open to listening what they're going through. And it's always by showing that openness to what they're sharing with you, because if someone shares their difficulty, they're being humble, they're being open, they're being vulnerable, they have to be appreciated for doing that. The most important thing is when you walk up to the person, at least with my experience I can say, is start with a smile before even you say a word, alright? The last thing you want is you're walking down the street, there's a bunch of people with a mask, and some person with an angry face walks towards you. Okay, that's not gonna start a healthy conversation in any way. Always start with a smile, even if you're having the worst day of your life. Keep a small smile in your face. It doesn't hurt anyone, but it will really help in your other conversations. And once you start asking questions, as Sophie was saying earlier, we start asking open questions. Always make sure to let the other person open up. Like, ask as many questions as you want to start what I call is like a filtration system, alright? They start saying, alright, well, I grew up on a farm, blah, blah, blah. Alright, how was the farm? You know, just let them describe as much as they can, everything, because it's that filtration system that's gonna let you, that's gonna lead you to what you have to explain to this person for them to take veganism seriously. So always ask open questions and listen to them. Try not to interrupt them. I've learned from my own experiences, I used to interrupt people a lot. Like, they're saying, yeah, but you know, my friend went vegan and then she had iron deficiency, and I immediately used to go like, yeah, but you know, iron deficiency is that. Like, just let the person talk, let them finish, and then once they finish, give them some time, and then you can start, you can continue your message. So, something very interesting with which I've always been on the edge, let's say, but recently I've been more convinced than ever, is try to see what it is that interests a person. One of my best friends in Barcelona, who's a vegan activist right now, when I first met her and I talked about veganism, she said, I will go vegan the day you find vegan bacon that tastes as good as real bacon. And I made this meal with rice paper bacon, and she really liked it, but obviously she didn't go vegan. And it wasn't until 2 weeks later, I didn't say anything, but by herself, she watched Cowspiracy, and because she's Danish and North Europeans are usually very obsessed with the environment and being ecological and everything, she went vegan. And that's when I realized that the way to get it with this person was using the environment. Now right now, she's a full-time animal rights activist because after going vegan for the environment, she realized the ethical side of veganism, she realized what the animals go through. She organizes vigils with me, she organizes rounds for the voices, the XC, she does events for sanctuaries. So make sure that you always, if you feel like there's a wall, you cannot explain ethics, or this person does not want to accept ethics, just see what else they're interested in. Some people don't give a, I'm gonna keep my language. Some people just don't care about animals, some people just don't care about ethics or morals, but they care about their health.
Yes, exactly.
So you can just start talking about, and that's why I say, like, start that filtration system.
My husband actually,
Your husband,
because of the health.
And is he vegan now for his health?
Not completely, he's still eating
on his
fish,
way.
but on his way.
Okay. So, well, for example, with fish, you can tell him that it has more cholesterol than
for
eggs.
years, I haven't eaten some, and he was eating and looked at me like, less and less. I think if you're living with that person, it helps when you talk with them. But
of course.
every people different.
Yeah, that's true.
Like you say.
Yeah, perfect. So, as she said, with her husband, it was with health. So, it's really find what it is that that person needs, what is their actual interest. People who have families and children sometimes, when you talk about the environment and tell them, you know, if you continue eating animals, you're basically leading this world into a place where your children can't live. That's what I use, let's say, with my sister who has a family. And I say, well, if you really care about your kids and their future, you have to go vegan, right? Because with the environmental and ecological collapse that is going to be caused by this industry, we don't have another choice but go vegan. And finally, it's always important to make someone remember that they actually have a lot of power in this. For example, I say usually when I'm doing outreach, there's just some sentences that I always repeat. I say no matter what they teach us, no matter how they brainwash us, they cannot force us on how to spend our money in the supermarket. And that's when our power comes, and we have to make the person feel that they're responsible and they have a very important role in this. If animals are dying, it's because people are paying for animals to die. If animal agriculture industry is making billions of dollars every day, it's not necessarily because they hate the animals. It's just because there's a lot of money involved, and once that money starts going away, they will go on to the next thing that makes a lot of money, because that's what they care about. So make every single person feel important. Remind everyone that this system is based on demand and supply. Slaughterhouse workers kill because supermarkets sell, because consumers buy. So the power is in the consumer's hand, and as long as you remind the person of this power, of their responsibility, they're gonna take it more seriously, and also they feel good about themselves. You know, like some people go like, oh yeah, I can save animals if I go vegan. You know, they like that kind of ego caress, let's say, and that's very important. So now I want to ask you all to raise your hand if you have been in an argument on a Facebook post about veganism. Alright, so let's say almost everyone. Now I want you to raise your hand if in that argument the other person said, literally commented, oh wow, you are right, I'm going vegan. How sad is that, right? It doesn't happen. That's because you can never win an argument. If you're in an argument, the only way you win is if the other person loses. And for another person to lose, they have to accept that in the argument, they are wrong and you are right. When was the last time any of you liked the fact that you were wrong about something? You're very humble. So do you wanna share what happened?
I mean, I can try and find like a specific situation, also because I actually agree with people who have much bigger knowledge than me, especially in environmental stuff. And usually when I'm not right, when they actually like teach me something, I'm pretty happy, and I like to like see what they think. I like to see their knowledge, you know.
Yeah. You know, the world would be a better place if everyone acted like that. So, if you get in an argument, it's very probably not going to end up well. And if you find yourself in an argument at a Cube of Truth event or anywhere in life, just tell the person, you know, thank you so much for your time, I really appreciate it, and move on to the next bystander, because there's going to be a lot of people who are actually interested in what you want to share with them. So when you get in an argument, you create this idea that this is now me against you. But and that also comes off with our body language, right? If we stand face to face like this, arguing, that's not gonna get us anywhere. But if you stand side by side and showing them the footage, you know, when you're talking, pointing at the screens, people are less likely to give excuses when they're looking at the footage. A lot of bystanders, I don't know if anyone has realized, when you start talking to them, they're looking at the screens, they slowly start turning around until they can argue like this, because then they don't have to see the footage, and it's much easier to give excuses when you can't see what's happening to animals. So keep in mind that getting into an argument almost never, and as you saw like from Facebook experience, you spend hours and hours commenting, and the other person is never gonna say, you are right, I am wrong, I'm going vegan. So as I said earlier, if you say you're wrong, then they're gonna jump in self-defense mode, and that's not gonna help. And it is much easier if you find things that you both agree on. So the way to do that is when you ask questions, you can say, let's say, you can start, do you think that in this day and age, we have to eat animals to survive? Right? If they say no, that's one thing, you have something like in common. You both are aware that you don't have to consume animals. You can ask something, do you agree that animal cruelty is wrong? And they can say yes, quickly. And the second they say that, you've created another bond. So the more you make someone agree with you, the more they see you as an ally instead of an enemy. So if you create that feeling of, we actually both have the same beliefs, the only difference is that you haven't aligned your actions with your beliefs, then they're gonna look up to you, they're gonna be open to you, they're gonna be listening to you and what you want to share, and kind of look for motivation inside you for them to go vegan. And something else that helps, and in my personal opinion, it's completely okay to, I call it white lies. Sometimes if I realize someone is mistaken in something they're saying against veganism, I say, I used to think exactly the same thing, all right? Now, sometimes I'm lying. Some people say, you know, yeah, but plants have feelings too. In my head, I'm thinking like, are you you know, like when you're driving a car and there's a dog on the street, do you go on the grass or do you hit the dog to not go on the grass? You know, you go on the grass because the grass doesn't have feelings like the dog does. But you can't say these things because then they feel like they feel stupid basically because they know that plants don't have feelings. However, if you go like, you know, I actually thought the same things, you know, maybe plants have feelings too, and then I did some research and I found out plants don't have a nervous system and a brain to feel the way we do, and then I found out that if we all go vegan, we consume 14 times less plants because all the animals that we eat a lot of plants, and so I realized that even if plants have feelings, it's better to go vegan. Now that makes the person go like, oh yeah, shit, this guy thought the same thing. So try to, especially if it's true, if you have done the same mistake, share that mistake with them. Because just as before, if you like find points that you agree on, then they look at you as an ally, and then you share your mistakes with them, and they look at you as someone humble who's being open and vulnerable as well and sharing the mistakes, and they're more likely to listen to you. So the asking questions part is called the Socratic method, as Sophie mentioned as well. I'm gonna give a set of, let's say the typical set that I use usually is when I walk up to the person, I smile and I say, hello, is this the first time that you see these videos? Now this question is completely irrelevant. It doesn't matter if it's the first time or the fifth time or the 100th time, but it's the best icebreaker because they, first of all, straight away know that you're from the group. Second of all, they find themselves in the conversation and they have to answer. And that creates the feeling of, all right, so this person's gonna have a discussion with me about what's happening. Whether it's a yes or a no, then you can continue with, all right, do you think it's necessary to do this in this day and age? Like, do you think we have to eat animals? And I say no. Then you can say, all right, why do you think we do it then? And then from then on, this person starts explaining things. Well, you know, we've always done it, blah, blah, blah. And then you can say, do you think the fact that we've done something for a long time means we should continue, or maybe it's time to change, you know? Just create that really humble, open question atmosphere for the person to give and take as much as they can.
I ask a question. Do you want to know what is happening here? And it's not involving the part about the film?
Yeah.
And then we...
Alright, so you ask as in what's happening with the cube and everything.
Yeah.
All
do
right.
you know what this is? Do you want to know...
That's a good one as well. I've never used that actually. Alright, thanks. Did everyone hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Alright, perfect. So another thing is, this is actually proven in psychology, is if you ask fast questions to make someone agree with you, it creates, apparently it takes a lot more physically and emotionally to say no than it takes to say yes. So when you ask questions that lead to yes, the other person subconsciously has a more positive image of you than when you ask questions that lead to no. So when you're forming questions, like if you have some time later on today, think about questions that you can ask where you know for a fact that the person is going to say yes as an answer. Because when you create a couple of questions like this that for sure they're going to say yes to, you know, do you love animals? Yeah, of course I do. What animals do you love? Do you love dogs? Yeah, of course I do, you know? So that creates this really loose emotional feeling that they're agreeing with you, and that's very important. And, alright, okay, so the reason why we use questions is not only for them to not feel they're being lectured, because it's not fun to just like, it's like they're being at school again, someone stops them on the street and says, eating animals does this, you don't have the right to do that, blah, blah, blah. If you say all of this, they can at any point say, I disagree. But if you ask questions, the only conclusions are coming from them, and they cannot go back on their conclusions. So if in the beginning they say, oh no, I don't think it's necessary to kill animals in this day and age, and then 15 minutes later they say, oh yeah, but you know, you kind of need meat for iron, you can just go back and say, oh, but I thought we both agreed that you don't need to eat animals. And now they can't take that back because they're the one who made that conclusion. So when you make someone come to a conclusion themselves, they have to go really low to actually take that conclusion back, and most people will not do that because it's much easier for them to agree with you and be true to themselves than actually completely change what they said and go back on it. Alright, so a very important thing is if you feel someone has had difficulty before, someone might have difficulty now, someone has any medical condition that probably in their idea or in their concept of veganism is a problem, show them sympathy. Don't let anyone, like if we talk just scientifically speaking, until now scientists haven't found one single disease caused by eating a vegan diet. Scientists have also not found one single health condition that prevents you from going vegan. However, if someone says, I have this, I have that, I have this intolerance or that allergy, do not make them feel, yeah, but you know, scientists said there's no, I don't know what. Just show them simply say, I'm really sorry to hear that. Is it easy? How do you deal with it? Just let them open up a bit, because the more they share about their personal lives, the more they're going to share about their feelings, and you're going to use those feelings to see what that person feels about everything that's happening. All right. Okay. So you did 2 times or 3 times? Okay, it's good. Perfect. So as I said in the beginning, when at the end you feel that a person shows that they're kind of convinced, but they're not going to go vegan on the spot, they're going to say something like, all right, I'll start with going vegetarian. Now, we all know that vegetarianism is definitely not enough for the animals. However, I'm not going to say, I'll never say personally that it's great, because it's horrible, but I can say, why do you want to go vegetarian? And they say, well, because I saw this now, and I agree that killing animals is bad, and then I can just bring them into the dairy industry. What happens in dairy? Well, did you know that in the dairy industry they also kill the calves, and all dairy cows also go to the slaughterhouse? In my example, I do say that I was vegetarian for 8 years, and it was a waste of time because I had no idea about veganism, and when I found out, I felt bad because I thought I was doing the right thing. So when you show that you appreciate the fact that they want to change, then they kind of feel good, and you can motivate them to do more. So another example is in Barcelona. I know every chapter is different, but in Barcelona, we don't accept donations on the street. And when someone comes up and they want to donate, I say, why do you want to donate? They say, well, I want to help you, doing a great job for the animals. And I say, do you want to help animals? And they say, yeah. And I say, thank you so much. So first I show sympathy, and then I appreciate the fact that they want to help animals. I say, thank you so much for wanting to help animals. That's really amazing. However, I'm really sorry to say, but with your money, I can't do anything yourself. If you really want to help them, it would be really amazing if you go vegan, because that's how you save animals. Do you want to have some more information about it? So that person is not going to go like, oh, well, if you don't want my money, then I'll just go, because if I appreciated them from the beginning, then they're already feeling good about themselves, and they don't care if they gave the money or not, because they're already shown appreciation.
What about vegans who want to give money?
Sorry?
What about vegans who want to give money?
We had that only once. A volunteer came up to me, said, someone gave me 20 euros, and I reacted. I was like, why did you accept it? And he was like, oh, no, she was vegan. And I was like, all right, well, we'll just use it for the next cards, you know? But it's very rare. If I were to come in contact with a vegan, then I would say I'd really appreciate it, but what about you join us one day, you know? If they want to join and donate, then we can
actually,
join.
I give money for you guys, the cube, first, and then I join.
Yeah,
that happened to me actually. I give
Yeah?
you $10, yes,
Yeah.
because I said, can I give you some money? And I was vegan already. And they say, yeah. And they got a little box, I give them money, and then I find you guys on the Facebook.
That's
and
great.
I join.
That's really nice.
That can happen that way too.
Yeah, of course. But also, at least in Barcelona, we share all the costs of the cards. So if anyone is a volunteer and they're giving money, well, we always use that money for materials anyway. So it helps a lot. So keep in mind that people in general don't remember conversations, and that's why we give the cards at the end. They remember what they feel when they walk away from the cube. So even if someone went vegan, but they went vegan because they were feeling very sad when they were talking to you, they got affected, do not let them leave the cube by feeling sad, because their general impression is going to be negative. No one's gonna be like, yeah, I got sad today because I met a vegan activist. That's not gonna be a good thing. So if you show appreciation at the end of the conversation and say, I'm sorry that you feel this way. I really think it's amazing that you're going vegan, or you want to go vegan, or you want to get more information. I just wish everyone was as open as you. Just in general, make them feel happy. Finish with a joke. Wish them a happy day. If they walk away happy, even if they had an argument with you, they're still gonna consider looking into the documentaries, because they're gonna think of that vegan person that made them feel good about themselves, that reminded them that they're compassionate, that they love animals, that they care about animals, that they have a power, and that their efforts are appreciated. And if they walk away that way, they're just gonna be much more open to future conversations they're gonna have with vegans. All right, that's it. I just want to say one more thing. Do not obsess about making every single person you meet go vegan. I've fallen in that, and it's completely draining. Until I saw a video where they were explaining this idea of the 100 points. What was it called? Yeah, the 100 points level. Has anyone heard of it? No. So basically, you have. Yeah, it's really amazing. So basically what they explain is, let's imagine that for a person to go vegan, they need 100 points, okay? If I spend an hour talking to someone about veganism, let's say that's 15 points. Then they're walking down the street one day, they see a cube, they talk to someone else, 5 points. They go home one day, they meet their friends has gone vegan, 20 points. They're chilling out with other people, they want to watch a documentary, they watch Conspiracy, 30 points. All these things add up until they reach 100, and then they go vegan. It's very few people that actually know nothing about veganism, find out, and then go vegan straight away. That almost never happens. One example, for example, in Barcelona, we were having a cube. I started talking to a Dutch guy. I had literally just started explaining everything, and he said, you know what, just stop. And I said, what? He's like, I'm gonna go vegan, don't worry about it. And I just stopped, like, is he shutting me up? Like, is he annoyed, or what is he doing? Is he lying to me? And I said, oh, how come? And he said, you know, I'm just sick of hearing it all the time. My best friends are vegan, my girlfriend is vegan, I don't know what. And then I come here and I'm walking and I'm having fun and I see you and you're doing this. It's just the last push that I needed. And I see that human slaughter doesn't exist. It's complete bullshit. And so he's like, I'm just gonna go vegan, I guess. So for me, him meeting me was probably like the last 1 point. Like, it was like just a little push at the end. And he went vegan. I literally didn't do anything. So if you're at a cube, you talk to someone, do not drain yourself. Keep in mind that the fact that you talk to them added a couple of points. And with time, like I said with my other friend who messaged me yesterday, probably all the other times I've literally blown his head up with all the information about veganism, trying to convincing him. We're adding small points, and at the end he watched What the Health, and that was the last push, and he went vegan. So it's very important, at least also for your emotional and mental health, to not feel disappointed. If you have a good conversation, it's not the end of the day. There's always more people who want to listen to you. People who walk away without agreeing with you are still winning points on the 100 thing, except if you're being violent with them or something. And if you feel someone being violent towards you, or if you feel the only reason they stopped is because they want to argue with a vegan, you say, thank you very much, I really appreciate your time, I'm gonna find someone else to talk to right now, and just go to the next person. Alright, thank you very much.